welcome back to Real Reviews. This is Cody Williams, and we're here to talk about the movie Night of the Living Dead. It is universally acknowledged as the first modern zombie ever made by George Romero back in the latter 60s. We have been accustomed to many zombie movies throughout the years, but a lot of people always refer to Night of the Living Dead as a personal favorite. I myself much prefer its faster-paced follow-up Dawn of the Dead, but I still find this particular movie very entertaining. Set in Pennsylvania, the movie story follows a pair of siblings, Barbara and Johnny, as they visit their father's grave in a cemetery and they both suddenly get attacked by a zombie. Barbara manages to escape while Johnny fights off the zombie and takes refuge in an old abandoned farmhouse. She is then joined by a stranger named Ben who stops at the house in need of gas. As they attract attention, a legion of the Walking Dead surrounds the farmhouse and Ben does his best to board up the doors and windows to make sure it's all secure. As they listen to the radio in hopes that help will come, they get news reports that people are returning from the dead to feast upon the living. Suddenly, they are surprised by 5 other people that have been hiding out in the cellar. Dissensions are then set in place on who wants to be left in charge, and as their situation deteriorates, their chances of surviving the night diminishes minute by minute. For a movie to come from the latter 60s, I'm glad that director George Romero decided to film this movie in black and white to give it a more tense, on-the-ground documentary approach. It really makes the overall film more stylistic and frightening in a sense. For it to be an older movie, it's still frightening to this very day of how it heavily relies on creepy visual imagery to unsettle the viewer. There are a couple of instances in this movie that always gives me goosebumps, no matter how many times I've seen it. To be a low-budget made movie, it was neat seeing how much was accomplished with very little. I will say that the movie can be somewhat too simplistic for my liking. What I mean by that is that there are some instances where there was almost little to no makeup for the extras that were cast as zombies. I felt like more effort could have been put into the looks for the zombies to give them a frightening look, whereas its follow-up, Dawn of the Dead, excels at. I normally don't like the characters in most horror movies because of how dumb they can be at times. However, the movie's 2 leads, Duane Jones and Judith O'Dea, were both very personable and fun. I thoroughly enjoyed their characters. Can't say the same for the other characters because they're very forgettable to say the least. With the exception of the character of Johnny. He's only in the movie for maybe only the first 5 minutes, but at least his character made an impact with this extremely quotable saying that has become popular.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
This is a good movie, don't get me wrong. However, the movie does suffer from pacing issues around the halfway mark. It's like the movie just comes to a sudden halt with exposition-heavy scenes and sludges on from there. Once we get to the last 20 minutes of the movie, it does pick right back up. A little spoiler alert, but I kinda like how this movie doesn't have a happy ending, in a matter of speaking. Despite its issues, Night of the Living Dead is heralded as a classic from the many fans of the horror genre, including myself. This is another movie that I always have to watch during this time of the year, as it can be both frightening and entertaining. I will say that this movie never loses its rewatchability because it's always super fun to watch. I give this movie an A-. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Keep up with my real reviews.